Hello, and welcome to one of the most important lectures that we're going to have in this class. You might not think so, but this is probably the most important, or the lecture that will probably help you the most out of the whole class that we've talked about. Because today we're going to talk about etiquette. We're going to talk about business etiquette, not necessarily social etiquette, but business etiquette. However, we are going to talk about some social etiquette when it comes to eating at a business meal. You are going to have a lot of business meals, business dinners, business lunches in your career. Oftentimes, you're going to interview while you are eating, or while you are dining, or while you're having lunch. So, I'm going to talk about business etiquette, or etiquette in the business setting or in the office setting. And then I am going to come back after that and I'm going to talk about proper etiquette at the table. Not just manners at the table, but proper etiquette at the table. So that when you're out on a business dinner, you're interviewing in a business dinner or what have you, you'll know proper etiquette. It is absolutely critical. It makes or breaks careers to be mannerly and also to have proper etiquette when you're in a business setting. So with that being said, let's get started with etiquette. As I said in the introduction, today we're going to talk about business etiquette, but I really wanted to catch up with where we are in the syllabus before we get into our business etiquette video or lecture. We are right here on the 20th. We are right at our business etiquette video lecture. We have really one more lecture, which is conflict management, which will happen next week. And then you'll have your quiz. The quiz will be over motivation, business etiquette, and conflict management. When I come in next week with regards to conflict management, I'll talk about final presentations and how I want final presentations to work. And we can go from there. So that's where we are. So now let's get to business etiquette. Etiquette is a set of unwritten rules. Etiquette really varies amongst cultures. Etiquette varies between even European cultures, it varies between Asian cultures, it varies between African cultures, etc. What I am going to concentrate, obviously, today, because it's not an international business class, but what I'm going to talk about today is I'm going to talk about business etiquette as it pertains to the United States and how we do business here in the United States. Now, with that being said, different regions of the country have different ways of behaving and ways of acting, etc. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it fairly generic and I'm going to keep it towards the United States. The thing about it is, folks, and I said this in the introduction, in the business world, business etiquette means that you're professional. It means that you care. It means you respect somebody else and somebody else that you're talking to. And proper manners and good etiquette is going to get you far in the business world. Not having proper manners and not having good business etiquette is basically a career flush. So please make sure that you listen to this lecture, and you should practice these types of things at home, because you're going to get to yourself in a situation where you're going to have the most important interview of your life, or maybe the most important sales meeting of your life, or what have you, and you're going to do it over dinner, or you're going to do it in somebody's office, and you want to make sure that you have good business etiquette. It is the recipe for advancing your career. It's also the recipe for flushing your career, depending on whether you have good business or not have good business etiquette. Those who exemplify good business etiquette takes their job seriously, and it shows. It looks like they're putting their best effort forward, and it looks like they are respectful of not only their job, but other people within the business climate. Contributing factors to not good business etiquette or not having good business etiquette is stress. Oftentimes, when you get stressed at work or you get stressed in your home life and you bring it to your work life, oftentimes that is a recipe for disaster. Sometimes manners goes out the window because you might be angry or you might be stressed. Longer workloads and heavier workloads and longer work hours in the workplace can also contribute to people letting their business etiquette go. Pressures, customer demands, all of these types of things are recipes for disaster when it comes to business etiquette. The thing about it is, if you look at that last business bullet point, though, I don't want ignorance of etiquette to be one of the factors that contributes to you not having good manners or good etiquette. And that's why I go over this. That's why I say that this is the most important lecture in the entire semester. All right, so let's talk about business etiquette versus social etiquette. First of all, social etiquette is marked, not marketed, but marked by courtesy. Social etiquette is courtesy, and in social etiquette, gender plays a role. It is acceptable in social etiquette for men to open doors for women, men to open the car door for women, and those types of things are appropriate when it comes to social etiquette. In business etiquette, gender plays no role. Now, you want to be a gentleman. For you gentlemen, you want to be a gentleman. You ladies, you want to be a lady. But business etiquette is marked by hierarchy. When you introduce somebody, you always introduce low to high. You never introduce high to low. For instance, if you're going to introduce a manager to a vice president, you always introduce the manager to the vice president. You would say, if the manager is Smith and the vice president is Jones, you would say, Mr. Smith, this is Ms. Jones. You would never say, Ms. Jones, this is Mr. Smith. You never, ever, ever introduce. Now, this is important, folks, because there's a lot of people that take this personally. You never introduce high to low. You always introduce low to high. With one rare exception, I say that the exception is when you're introducing your father or your mother. Then it is to say your boss. Then it would be appropriate to introduce high to low. But for the most part, in business world, you always introduce low to high. The other thing is, gentlemen, some higher executive females take umbrage to the fact that you open doors for them. Some don't. It's kind of a tough situation in some cases. What I've always done in my career is I've always asked, would you like me to open the doors for you? If they say no, it's not necessary, then you're okay. If they say, well, that would be fine, then you know that they would appreciate you opening the doors for them. Especially when you're traveling with a female who is a higher ranking officer in the company or higher ranking officer like a VP or what have you, when you're opening the car door for them. Sometimes they take umbrage to that. Sometimes they don't. It is appropriate, gentlemen, to ask, would you like me to open the car door for you? If they say no, that's not necessary, then you know. If they say, yeah, that would be fine, then from now on, you know that you're going to open up the car door and any other door for them. Remember, business etiquette is marked by hierarchy. Gender plays no role. You want to be a gentleman, ladies, you want to be a lady, but you got to remember that hierarchy is the rule. I hope that was clear for you. So, 10 rules for business etiquette. 1, always arrive on time. When you don't arrive on time, if in fact you're late, that means you think your time is more important than theirs. If you leave somebody waiting for you, that is telling that person that my time is more important than yours. And generally speaking, in business, that is a no-no. Arriving on time is absolutely key. Number 2, dress appropriately. Professional dress will vary from situation to situation. I always wear a tie. I'm one of the very few professors that wear a tie, but I like to wear a tie. However, in certain situations, like on Fridays, generally speaking, I won't wear a tie. I'll dress more casually. If you're going to a plant type of setting or a manufacturing plant type of setting, oftentimes it's not appropriate to wear a tie because they don't want ties to get caught in the machinery. So it's appropriate to wear a jacket like this, but maybe not necessarily a tie. Dress appropriately for your business situation. In some cases, if you're dressed too professionally or you're wearing a tie, you might be putting on airs. So you've got to make that judgment call on how you dress from situation to situation. The same thing with you ladies. Speak kindly of others, regardless of how you feel of the person. Never speak ill. And even if you're not speaking ill of the person when they're around, never speak ill of somebody to somebody else. Even if they're your friend, even if you think that they are your closest friend in the work environment, don't speak ill of somebody. It will get back to them. And you never know. They might be your boss someday. And you never know who you can trust within the business world. Never speak ill of somebody. Always speak kindly. Avoid gossip at all costs. There's a lot of people that are going to want to gossip around the break room, gossip around things. Make sure that you avoid gossip at all costs. You can nod, but always try to change the subject. It is extremely appropriate or important that you do not engage in gossip. Show interest in others, and they also is appropriate to use people's names. People like to hear their names. So show interest in others, even if they're boring you to tears. Make sure that you're nodding, you're smiling, you're making it sound like that's the most important thing you've ever heard, because people like that. And again, in the business world, you never know who you're going to end up reporting to. Watch your body language. Oftentimes your body language is noticed. If you're sitting there like this, oftentimes that body language says, I don't believe you, or I disagree, or something like that. Always have open body language, and make sure that your body language is appropriate for the situation in which you are being there. It is appropriate to shake hands with somebody with a firm handshake and a firm grip. However, if you're shaking hands with ladies or gentlemen, be careful not to grip too hard. Oftentimes, they wear a ring. If you grip too hard, then you might hurt their hands. So a firm handshake, never a wet noodle handshake, but a firm handshake is appropriate, but not too firm where they're going to, it's going to hurt them, especially if they're wearing a ring. Introductions are key. Again, you always introduce low to high. So-and-so, this is so-and-so. Low to high, because you show support that way. Don't interrupt. Never swear. It is never appropriate to swear, especially if you are making a presentation. A lot of people like to put in, a swear word or something in a presentation. They think that it makes them more down to earth. That is not the case. That is not true. Don't ever swear, especially in a presentation. Consume correctly. in just a minute, we're going to come back. I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk to you and show you some tips about table etiquette. Here's some things: putting your napkin in your lap, order similar items to a price range that is the highest ranking officer. That's very, very key. In other words, you look and see what the highest ranking officer at the table is ordering. Order something similar to them. If they're ordering chicken, don't order steak and lobster. Also, if you are the highest ranking officer, make sure that you are not ordering the lowest price thing on the menu, because everybody will follow suit. So if you're the highest ranking officer, it's appropriate to order something that's middle of the road or middle range, because people will follow suit. Don't start eating until everyone has received their food. Even if they say, oh, go ahead, it'll get cold, then you can pick at a little bit, but don't tuck in until everybody has received their food. Condiments always are passed from left to right. You never reach across the table. And when someone asks you to pass the salt, you always pass the salt and pepper together. Obviously, you're going to chew with your mouth closed, and don't snap your fingers at the server. I'll be right back.